Welcome to another episode of our EV charging incentives quick take. Today, we're talking about the 30C federal tax credit. Okay, so this one is available in any state, right? Any of the U.S. states, you can use this incentive. However, it does have some requirements we'll talk about. Not every single property can qualify. They've limited the what they're allowing there. And so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But the way this program works, it's a federal program, and they were going to give you a tax credit of 30% of your expenses, 30% of the cost that you spend putting in EV charging. They're going to give you that in a direct tax credit up to $100,000. So it's a pretty good program. Obviously, you spend $10,000, you're going to get $3,000 in a federal credit against your income tax. Not a bad deal there. The eligible cost on this is pretty good as well. It basically all costs related to the purchase and installation of EV charging solution. So it can include your electrical make ready and things like that. So it's not just limited to the charger that you buy. So all that's pretty good. As far as the submission process, it's relatively easy. You don't have to get any pre-approvals. There's actually a form that you will fill out and submit with your tax return, or basically your accountant will, or whoever does your taxes. Obviously, on all this stuff, please be sure and check with your tax, the professionals, because I'm not a tax guy. I don't understand all that stuff. But it's a form you fill out. It's a pretty simple form. I've helped people fill it out, that are customers, to make sure they have it. So you fill that out. The way this incentive does work too, the tax credit, it's not a discount in your revenue. It's equivalent to you writing a check to the IRS. So it's the same as when you put in your, you put in your quarterly voucher and you tell them that, your estimated tax is $5,000. It's the same as that $5,000 that you would pay. It's equivalent to that. So it is a good incentive that way. It doesn't carry over. So that's one bad thing. If you can't use it all the first year, it's gone. And then there are a couple of special requirements that you need to be aware of. Okay. The first one is it doesn't apply to everybody. So they, in the adjustments to the program, obviously they want to spur the installation of EV chargers. Well, what they wanted to do is make sure that was put out into your non-urban areas. So they're trying to make sure it's expanded into the more suburban and rural areas. And then also they wanted to make sure it's getting into the lower income areas. So those two are the areas that qualify, and some of your more high income urban areas will not qualify for this program. So make sure you check that. You can Google it. There's a map system out there that you can do, or again, reach out to us. The other part that gets a little tricky on this one is you have to pay anybody that does work in installing this project. So the electricians that go out there, the laborers that go out there, all the people that go out there to do this project must be paid in compliance with the Davis-Bacon wages for that particular location. And there is a requirement that an apprentice from an approved apprentice program be employed for 10% of the hours. So those two things can add a little bit of, issue to this grant. If you're in certain areas, it can add a big bump in the road, because by moving, by making us to pay the Davis-Bacon wages, those skilled laborers on that project might go from making, a $30, $40 an hour wage to $80 or $90 an hour wage. So it can add cost to the project. So that there are places that we look at this carefully and evaluate if the cost offset the savings. And sometimes it may not. If you have a lot of labor, if you have a labor intensive project and you've got, a bunch of laborers out there that their wages are going to go up considerably, you may not, it may increase the cost of your project by more than what you get back, or close to it. So that's something to pay attention to. If you're planning on capturing this 30C, make sure you're talking to anybody doing your work and let them know, because they need to make sure that they are paying the prevailing wages and giving you that letter at the end. But other than that, it's a very simple, easy to do program. So definitely take a look at it. It's worth having, this is what helps us. A lot of places cover that last little gap and get charging in for next to nothing. So that's all for the 30C, and that's all for today. We'll see you on the next one.